iṣẹ́ ọ̀ṣọ́fà nínú ìjọ mímọ́, ẹ jẹ́ ká gbé lárugẹ.
Hallelujah. My name is Ogumefun Emmanuel Timindayo, and we are welcome to another edition of Celestial Literacy. Today, I am with the big fish. When the time comes, we are going to know the big fish. But we are going to be talking about exclusively on Celestial Church of Christ and Parochial Committee, their functionality as well as their composition. Let us meet the big fish. Your name, sir?
I am Evangelist Moses Iwatade Shubawale. I am born into Celestial Church for Celestial Church of Christ by most evangelists and lay superior senior prophetess Stephen Olabola Shubawale of blessed memory. I grew up in the church, and I'm privileged to pass through the cadre from the juvenile to the youth wing. I am one of the pioneer members of the youth movement in the Celestial Church of Christ, Ele Cathedral, and also Celestial Church of Christ Oyo State Youth Organization. And not only that, God extended my calling to serve in other Christian bodies. The Christian Association of Nigeria, presently I am the leader of Ibadan Northwest Local Government Zone E, one of the 6 zones in the local government. And also I am serving my second term as the chairman of Bible Society of Nigeria, Ibadan North Central Auxiliary, that has our sitting at Elele Baptist Church. I'm serving the second tenure in office. And so far so good. I'm a full-time evangelist in Celestial Church of Christ. To all glory of God.
Thank you very much, sir. That is to let you know that our guest is capable to give us the discussion on what we have today. Just like I made us understand not quite long what we are going to be talking about. But before we divulge into the discussion properly, I would like to ask our guest, is there any biblical provision for parochial committee in Celestial Church of?
Yes, there are at least, I have about 2 references in the Bible. The first is in the Old Testament, and the second is in the New Testament. And the first is in the book of Exodus chapter 18 from verse number 13 to 26. It's about the story of the Israelites. At that time, all of them, they go to Moses as their leader, and he oversee all their queries. He take all their query to God, and he give them solutions to their problems. He's the only one doing the work because he's shadowed with the responsibility of attending to their spiritual needs. But funny enough, his in-law was there. He brought his family and said, wow, even where I came from, they are doing these things easier than this. Let me borrow you wisdom. And he said, you can, select these people in their thousands, in their hundreds, in their 50s, and in their tens. Moses followed the advice, and it was better off. And he said something in that particular passage. He said, number 1, you will do things easier. People will go to their home easier, and you will make them to be responsible to the people because they are leader of 1,000, of 50, of 100, So he was able to divide himself into many, making the work easier and making the work to be progressive. So that is the first example because it worked. The Bible told us that it worked. The second is example. Don't forget, there is something I want you to note. Moses is a servant of the word of God. So because all the things he's explaining to the people, all the solutions he's bringing to them is basically through the word of God. So the second example is in the book of Acts of Apostles, chapter 6, when the apostles were acting according to the dictate of God. It got to a time there was a strife between the disciples. And Peter called a meeting of all the saints and said, "Come, this work we be dragging. I have an idea. We are ministers of the word and prayer. Let's choose some people who are spiritual, who have good report, who can take care of the welfare of the widows." And eventually, people like Philip, Stephen
Simon, Demas.
were chosen. And I remember one of the criteria for choosing them say people who are spirit filled, not the rich, not the popular, but people who are spiritually filled, who have good report. That means people have been hearing good things about them. So he was able to come up with them, and it was recorded that there was progress. The church was getting bigger and bigger. Not just them, being a committee or just occupying space. They are people who are spirit filled, who are conscious of the word of God and why it must spread to all nooks and crannies of the world. So not only just sitting down for a parish, if a parochial committee is existing in a parish, they must be looking out of that parish. How are we going to take a branch of this church to another place? No, it's not only sitting for the parish.
Wow, I am filled. That is to let you understand that things we do in the church, one of it which is the constitution of the parochial committee is biblically based. And we have seen the traces both in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. Now I proceed from here, sir. My next question is that what is the numeric composition for parochial committee in Celestial Church of Christ?
It is 33, as provided for by our founding father, SBG Oshofa, in the constitution of the church that was promulgated on February 1980. It was 33. But the constitution says that the pastor, at his discretion, can choose a smaller number based on the peculiarity of that environment of that parish.
Wow, 33 with peculiarity. Thank you very much, sir. But you've even answered my second question, which is in a situation where the parochial committee number composition can't be 33, what happened? That has been provided for. Now we go to the fourth question. Is there any significance for the 33 number of the parochial committee?
There is not much significance. It is more of representation than spirituality. More of representation. For instance, I want to discuss this under two heading. Number one, representation as in 1/10. The concept of 1/10 is assumed that a progressive and a growing parish should be around 300 or thereabout. So picking a tenth of them will give us around 33. Do you understand? If they are 330 members, so we need a tenth of them to represent all sections of the parish, to sit down and deliberate on the progress of the church every time. So it's more of representation. And by the time we go into the composition, by the time we begin to analyze, you will realize that it is more of representation than spirituality. Though 1/10 is spiritual because it takes 1/10 of our money to go back to God for God to bless us. And even in the academic world, when we do research, in our research methodology, by the time we are choosing a sample population, we did 1/10 to represent others. So it's more of representation than spirituality.
Thank you very much, sir. The 33 is more of representation than of spirituality.
Because every aspect of the church has to be represented. Every organs of the church has to be represented in the parochial committee. By the time we begin to go into the composition proper, we begin to talk about all those.
Let's quickly start about to talk about that because that is my next. What is the composition? And I want you to also to talk about what is the responsibility of a parochial committee in a parish.
Yeah, so that I will not talk on this. It says here,
Which
um,
document is this, sir?
this is the constitution of the church. This is the constitution of the church. It said the parochial committee constitutes the local government of the parish church. So even talking about local government, that is the third tier of government in every country. The local government, they deal with the localities. They are very close to the people. So if we say parochial committee constitute the local government, so that means the shepherd cannot see everything, cannot be everywhere. He has a committee that is very closer to even the many members of the church. He may not even be able to meet, in weeks, in months. So that is the first thing I want us to note: the local government, and the local government is an establishment that is working week in, week out for the survival of every state, the federal, the state, and the local. So very, very vital. And look at the local government system. It is very essential, it's a must. So if the constitution is saying it constitutes the local government, that is letting you know how important it is to our church. And I want to put it to you that the parochial committee system is one of the best legacy that our founding fathers gave to us for the survival, sustenance, and maintenance of our church. So that's that on the local government aspect of it, and is empowered to deliberate. Empower to is a committee. So one thing that you cannot take away from every committee is deliberation. So they have the duty to deliberate for the progress. So they were empowered. Though not that I know of some committee in the next 10 months they may not meet. No, committee must meet every month because that is the power that they were given. They are empowered to deliberate for the progress of the parish church. I'm a chairman of some Christian bodies. I know how important is meeting. Every month we must meet. Even there are some emergency meetings we come because it is in that deliberation that we get to progress. So that is the main and major duty, to deliberate for the progress of the parishes, and they see to the day-to-day running of the church, not month to month. It is day to day. Every day they must be on ground to assist the work of God.
Mm. Parochial people, are you hearing that? Did you get that part?
And furthermore, they have the power to apply disciplinary measures in minor cases affecting the church. They don't have the power to send anybody packing in the church. It's only the pastor that has that power to. So parochial committee may, in circumstances requiring such stand disciplinary action, make recommendation to the general committee, because the parochial committee is responsible to the general committee. The general committee is a bigger body of parochial committees when they come together. So that is that about their functions. The functions of the parochial committee, day-to-day running, is like a local government, and they have to see to that. So the shepherd does not have to be doing all the work himself. When he has his parochial committee, they have to assist him.
Thank you very much, sir. That is about their responsibility. Sir, I stand to ask this question. What is the criteria to be considered when appointing parochial committee members?
The major is spirituality. We are a spiritual church, and anybody that will occupy any position must be highly spiritual. They are not working for man. They are not working for men. They want to work for God. God is a spiritual being, highly spiritual being, and whoever is going to occupy it, because it's a very sensitive position that one has to deliver. So that's the first criteria. That the salvation of such people must be genuine, not somebody who join our church through sanctification and not through baptism. Not somebody who joined the church through sanctification and not through baptism, because it takes a baptized member of the church to be a bona fide member of the church, because it is after you are baptized that you are eligible to go for anointment. So, not sanctification. Sanctification is just to give you the chance to worship and see what we do before you take your decision to finally be a member of the church or not.
Okay, Daddy. Hmm.
Other
Kite.
things,
Okay.
other things may be considered. By the time we go into the divisions in the parochial committee, but the foundation of every member that we make that 33 member or 7 as the case may be must be, people of faith that are highly spiritual.
Then, Daddy, you will allow me to picture this scenario because it's a fact. So, from what you've said so far, that is to let what I can deduce is that means the members must be full of the Holy Spirit, as it is stated in the book of Acts of the Apostles that I make reference to. All right, very good. Then I want to assume that for you occupying the position of a parochial committee, that means invariably you are a deacon, that is alagba, for you to have been in that position. Now the question now is this: I know of a particular parish, I know of a particular parochial chairman who is in the church married, and mo lè sọ méjì tí wọ́n tún ní àjọṣepọ̀ pẹ̀lú àwọn obìnrin tí kò kì í ṣe ìyàwó, and is the parochial chairman of the church, and is a big church, is a renowned church. What do you say to that spirituality of the parochial committee of the body?
It may happen in a situation that is abnormal, but on a normal day, I mean, the Celestial Church of Christ that God descended through our revered father, uh, Samuel Bile Joseph Oshofa. It is a holy church that such an act is not welcome. Such an act can never be celebrated. That is one of the colossal errors that happen in some uncultured environment or through some uncultured shepherds that are out there, because a parochial chairman can never do such on a normal day. A parochial chairman of Celestial Church cannot be a fornicator, cannot be a drunkard, cannot be a gambler.
Is it only just the parochial chairman or the composition of the 33 members?
All the, I said it earlier that every member of the parochial committee, you don't just see, Peter said, give us names. We want just 7 that are spiritual, people of good report, not just like by the time we get to the other aspect of the committee, we will discuss that. People of good report to make this committee, not just any member of the church. There are certain criteria they must meet. There are so many criteria that they must meet, because they are the life wire of the church. The moment you put them in place, they started working. You know, just imagine they are the wrong hands, then that church is finished.
Then, Daddy, you will now let me say this. We said the person should be of of repute, the person should be of good report, the person should be full of the Holy Spirit. Now the question is this, because in this dispensation, everybody is looking for money. Is the position of a parochial chairman exclusively for the most wealthy member in the church?
It's not for the most wealthy member, but the parochial chairman, at least must be well to do, not rich, but must be well to do. He must be working, be earning money, so that he will not be tempted because of his poverty. Do you understand? And moreover, on a very good day, all things being equal, the parochial chairman cannot be poor. All things be on a normal
That is
service,
if you do the work diligently.
it will not be poor. It will be spiritual and also be rich.
Is it that before he gets to the office that will be rich, or when he gets to the office?
Before he gets to the office, I'm not saying on a good day, the shepherd has worked on every member of the church is blossoming, Do you understand? So on a normal settings, the parochial committee chairman cannot be poor.
I don't know whether you know, but me, I know of this scenario whereby the parochial committee are borrowing themselves the church money. Is that the what you are talking about?
No, 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 no. I'm not okay. See, we hear stories about things happening in parishes, but those are the abnormal situations. It may be because of the wrong foundation of that parish or the wrong orientation of the leader there. So it is either of the two, because according to a document,
Yes, sir.
no matter how
Which document is this, sir?
it is the inaugural meeting of the General Diocesan Committee held on the 13th of December 1974. So it is the coming together of parochial committees from all over Nigeria. So that's the general committee. I don't think they are still holding meetings now, but then they all come together. They bring reports from their various parishes, their challenges. They solve it in that, and through that they make some laws. So many things happen in that meeting.
Sorry, sir. 1974.
Yeah.
Wow. I will try to scan through this document when I am through
It's
with
okay.
this interview section. But the question now is this: this meeting that you are making reference to, is it on annually or quarterly or twice by?
According to the constitution, the general committee decide their next meeting date. After holding one, they decide we are going to meet again based on the urgency. Do you understand? So because based on the agreement of all members, they decide. And before I go for that, I want to give credit to my revered father, Muslim evangelist, so Shobawale, because he left a library for me, and that is why I'm able to research into so many things about the church. The little knowledge I have.
Before you proceed, I was told I want you to quickly correct the historical active father that I get to know that it was that daddy that you made mention of. That's the biological father was the one that built Ele Cathedral.
Well, according to how he taught us, he's not the owner of any church. He's an instrument of God. God used him for the church at Ele and every other places, because he was the first Oyo State evangelist, and on so many occasions, the headquarters sent him on errands to so many places.
So, in case you don't know, that shows that my guest today is competent. If you try me, then you will see now. You will get it. Now, sir, there is a reason why you bring out this particular document that you want to make reference to.
Yes. It says there's a section, outstation parochial committee, and it says it is not compulsory that the leader in charge of a station should be the chairman of the parochial committee. There was a controversy. Some landlord shepherd, they want to be the chairman of their parochial committee. But it does not say it's not compulsory that the shepherd should be the parochial committee chairman, but being the pastor's watchdog. I like the word, being the pastor's watchdog. So the parochial committee cannot be totally independent because somebody is watching them. They bring the report of the activities and say, no, no, this one you have done is not too good. Being the pastor's watchdog, he can sit, not must sit. When you train your church members, once they are competent, you don't need to sit with them, because even in your sleep, you know what they will do. Because that is no church members can grow beyond their shepherd, because they are your member. You train them, so he can sit and also give useful advices to the committee. Useful advices. You don't run it for them, because that means you have not trained them. Because if you train them, they know what to do.
I'm still on the criteria, sir.
Okay.
I remember we talked about the spirituality aspect. We talked about the moral aspect that has to do with being disciplined to some extent in respect to his moral life. Now, the question now is this, sir. What number of years is an individual is expected to have stayed in a particular parish before he's been appointed into the parochial committee? I will ask this question and rephrase it another way around. Let's assume I joined this particular big cathedral today now, and everybody knows that Emmanuel has money, and I've not spent a part. Let's say I'm just joining, and God so good, this I join in January, and we are in April. They want to dissolve the existing parochial committee. Am I fit to be appointed into that committee?
Yes, you are fit.
Hmm.
Yeah, I said people of good report. You know, for instance, I've met people in this church who have been to other churches. Even some of them are pastors in other churches. But by the time by the time they come into the celestial world, they realize it is another world. It's a church from heaven. So they realize, wow, this is another concept. They have to begin to learn. Not that they don't have knowledge of Christ. They have. Some have been to Bible colleges. Imagine them coming to our church. Not that they don't have knowledge, but they came here. They say this is another mystery which we have to learn. So some of them show eagerness to join the church because of how some came by Christ's invitation. Christ himself invited them. This is the church we'll be worshiping now. So they have all the knowledge. So imagine, can we not tap into their weight of knowledge? We will, because they are there. So there are some like that. Even I learned of a church that got converted. They took, the outreach was made to that village, and the only existing church there, the pastor himself converted to Celestial Church, and he brought all his members. So when they took him to the pastor founder and they explained the situation to the pastor founder, he gave him evangelist traits. Yeah, he's a pastor. He brought a whole church, a whole parish. So they gave him evangelist traits because already he's not new in the work. Should we tell him to start from Modebode? No, they can't, because his experience, he has experience on the job. So he only needs to know more about our doctrine. That's all.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, who is
So
responsible?
somebody coming afresh into our church that has a background of Christianity and that is steadfast, immediately he joins us, we know, we estray him and know. So by the time he is sanctified, baptized, he fit in.
Okay. So that means in the next election, you can be considering me for your parochial chairman. All right. Now, who is responsible for appointing parochial committee?
The pastor of the church. And the pastor can do this in many ways. Number one, he can do it through his representative in that parish, who is the shepherd in charge. And he may decide, or based on the recommendation of that shepherd, if the environment is volatile, he can, he can send to the headquarters and they will send representative from the pastor to come and conduct the election for that particular parish. It's based on so many factors. But if he's competent, if he's the one that started the church, he grew up with the church, he has taught them well, he will conduct it, and there will be no issues. But based on the peculiarity of a parish, it may request for assistance from the headquarters, and the headquarters may decide on their own volition and say, when will you inform us when the parochial committee elapses, or like a big church like this, immediately they conduct and elect parochial committee, they send the list to the pastor. So the pastor know that in the next, so they will open file for that parish at the headquarters, so they will be monitoring. So the pastor can just say, your tenure will elapse so time, I will send a delegate to come and conduct. So the pastor knows when the parochial committee will elapse or not. And if the headquarters forget, they can remind them and say, we send a list to you, they will elapse, and we choose another set. Please send people to come and conduct for us.
So invariably, no parish exists outside the jurisdiction of the pastor.
Yeah, yeah.
So all these parishes that will say, I'm not under this authority, I'm alone.
My brother, it's a big lie. Until you have problem with the government, or you have problem, it is there you will know that you must be attached to the source. If not, you'll be on your own.
Thank you very much, sir. Even you've already said something about the next question I wanted to ask, that what is the mode for appointing? Is it election? Is it casting of lots? Is it by let's Miss Okpe, the next chairman?
That also depends on many factors. So, but the one that we were used to, we call it spiritual balloting.
Okay.
Somebody must be fit for a job, but we can have many people who are eligible, but God needs just one person, the most fit. So, for instance, by the time they want to conduct the election of the parochial chairman, they say nomination for the post of the parochial chairman. So, and if you are nominating anybody, you must mention his rank, his name, and the reason why you are nominating him.
The reason?
Yeah, the reason. There must be a reason. People of good report, spiritual. So, and they will be waiting to hear that person say all this. What do you know about the person you are nominating? And by the time you mention all the criteria, you will see the reaction from the church. Even the reaction will let you know that that person is truly fit. The reaction will speak volume. So after mentioning that, another person say, okay, I have a better person than that person. Okay, mention your. So you also mention. Somebody can say, no, no, I disagree. That particular elder, he has done this bad, he has done that bad, and they can cancel that nomination. Yeah, in the, my brother, you see, this is a place of truth.
And the person that they are castigating that he has done this bad will not go up behind and be feeling bad and be trying as much as possible and will leave that particular
This
person.
is the place of truth. Where else are we expecting to hear the truth? Where else? In the mosque or where? This is the place of truth. Ye shall know the truth. So why should you open your eyes and they put the wrong elder in the helms of affairs of the church? The whole church will be in trouble. Why not if not?
Is there a need? Because I have witnessed an election before. Now, is it proper to be canvassing for votes or to be nominated?
It's not. It's not. That is a peculiarity of some environment that is not godly. Yeah, we have heard of such. You know, everything we'll be talking here is about Celestial Church of Christ, pure Celestial Church. No, all the wrong stories we hear. You know that I had one that the person high the position of a parochial chairman has been giving people money so that they can vote for him. If he imported people to the church to vote for him, people who have never attended that parish, just come up because of so those are the wrong part of it. But all this boils down to the orientation of the church by the shepherd.
Orientation of the church by the shepherd.
Many shepherds are culpable in this, that they allow such things to happen. And even some shepherds are biased. I've seen a situation. I went with one of our fathers here once to a parish to conduct their election. And I was looking at the man of God there. I was seeing the way he was just going up and down. You read it all over him that he he has a
He has
list,
a candidate.
and he has a list. Eventually, he brought out the list to the man of God that went to officiate. He brought the list, and the man of God said, "Bring it." Because he collected it, and yet he did it the way he should do it. But the shepherd has his list. He has
People he wants in that.
there was crisis in that parish, so that shepherd can never conduct an election. They will not respect that election. So somebody have to come from the head
Now,
of
still, you still want to make sure
to
that
impose to impose people he feels like him. The church is divided already. He had divided the church. Some people they are for him, some are against him. So he doesn't want any of those who are against him to make the team. So he was just trying to manipulate and make sure, we see so many things in our church. We expect them because we know Satan is not resting on his words. He wants to make sure that this church will not fulfill the mission of cleansing the world. Yeah.
wow, I want to talk about the inclusion of youth in the parochial committee. Do you think okay?
It's not only youth. I was talking about
Yes.
the division, the divisions of the parochial committee. Okay, now the composition, the composition is like 3 members, and we have the chairman, the parochial chairman, and the first vice and the second vice. Now, the we have the 9 executives, and we have 2 arms. The first arm is the councillors, and the second arm they are the commissioners. The commissioners are 9: the chairman, the secretary, the treasurer, and 12 members.
Yes, sir.
The councillors, the chairman, the secretary, the treasurer, and the 12 members. Out of that 12 member, 6 will be male and 6 will be female. Now let's go to the councillors. The councillors. I wrote something down here. The councillors, the dictionary meaning says a member of a council, an assembly or meeting for consultation, advice, or discussion. A group elected or appointed as an advisory or legislative body. You know, so those are the councillors. Then the commissioners, a person with a commission, such as a member of a commission, an authorization or command to act in a prescribed manner or to perform prescribed acts. a group of persons directed to perform some duties. Those are the commissioners. So now let's look at how they fit into the parochial committee of Celestial Church for you to know how important it is to have a parochial committee. And moreover, there's something I want to note here. In the clause 125 of our constitution, it says every parish church must have a parochial committee, not may, as we have in some parishes, must have. This is one of the foundation of our church. It must happen everywhere. Must have a parochial committee drawn from within its members. We cannot import anybody from within its members, and which will be responsible for the day-to-day affairs of the parish, like I mentioned the other time. So now let's look at the composition. The composition of the parochial committee shall be 33, made up as follows: chairman and 2 deputies, honorary secretary and 2 deputies, honorary treasurer and 2 deputies. Now, 6 ex-officio male spiritual elders. Those are the commissioners. They didn't call them commissioner here, but I saw a document, that called them commissioner. Sorry, that called them councillors. So those are the councillors. The councillors are made up of 6 ex-officio male species. Ex-officio. We use the word ex-officio for somebody who is experienced, somebody who have been holding positions. So 6 ex-officio spiritual elders and 6 ex-officio female spiritual elders. Those are the councillors. Now let's begin to look at it. Ex-officio spiritual, and I talk about spiritual. Ex-officio spiritual elders. Look at those 3 appellations. Ex-officio spiritual elders. So they must be highly spiritual, the councillors. And they are 12 in numbers. And the 12 must be drawn from all organs of the church, vis-a-vis the choir, the youth, the women wing, the prophet and prophetess, the side men and women, the Sunday school department, from every aspect, they must be represented. So it will be like the National Assembly. So when they are discussing
Issues that concern
everybody should advocate. There must be a report from. That's why they must pick people who are of good report from the choir, people who can advocate the cause of the choir, because in that committee every aspect have to give report of doings going on in their in their unit, and the committee can provide solution to some problem, encourage them and do so many things. They must deliberate on every aspect of the choir. In 694, says we must gather. We don't have any other work together to do, but the progress of the church, discussing every unit. When I was a member of the parochial committee, I'm the youth leader, and they know me in the committee. Everything I talk about is the youth, the progress of the youth. I say, the meeting cannot end though. We have not discussed the youth. They are the future of this parish. Every as about the councillors, every organs of the church must be represented. And when it comes to the commissioners, look at how he put it: 6 other male co-opted members, 6 other female co-opted members. They must be spiritual, but they may not be highly spiritual as the councillors. And these people, they are supposed to be professionals, because these people will be they will be shadowed with the duty of the building committee, people in charge of the choir instrument, the landed properties of the church and things like that. So they must be people who have experience in that regard. So that is the composition of the committee.
Thank you very much, sir. You made mention of the counselors the other time. Now I want to know, is there a difference between the counselor and the council of elders? Before you answer that, is there a difference between the council of elders and the parochial committee?
Yeah, elder is elder. Either you put council there or not, we always have elders in the church, and they are headers. So either you bring them together as a council, are you getting it? They are headers in the church. They are not compulsory to be part of the parochial committee, but they are headers of the church. So there are some uh, occasions in the church that the parochial committee will require to call everybody on board, especially the elders. There may be certain issue that the parochial will say, wait, we are parochial committee, this is this is beyond us. Let us bring in the elders. So they call the meeting of the elders, they will deliberate with them, and they take a decision. So either we bring them together formally. The constitution did not say we should bring them together formally. We shouldn't lie. There is no provision for council of elders in the constitution, but there is provision for elders in our church. We have elders in our church. They are always there. Either they bring the people together or not, elders are always elders. That is enough position. First Peter 5. First Peter 5. The Bible make provision for elders. So either we make it formal or not, it does not even matter.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, how many years is a committee is expected to serve?
Yeah, it's 2 years.
Two. Péré.
It's 2 years.
No rerun. No ẹ̀mí sọ pé ká tuntun ṣe.
It's 2 years.
2 years.
It's 2 years. And you see, it's more spiritual than physical. It's more spiritual. I have seen people, the people argue about this. I've seen shepherds say they don't think parochial committee, my parochial committee can be there for ages. Though there are some circumstances that may require that you don't change. Probably the church is just starting, and at the early stage of a church, you may not change committee. But remember, that is not constitutional. Do you understand? Even the general committee, there was a stipulation for the secretary of the general committee. It says clause 133, he shall hold office for a period of 2 years and shall be eligible for re-election thereafter for further period of 2 years. So the chairman cannot be changed because the pastor is the chairman of the general committee. So, but the secretary can be changed. So if the secretary can be changed, how much more the parochial committee? There's a document I didn't see that Pastor Bada, I remember, he sent out a proclamation that officially parochial committee must spend 2 years. Now let's go into the spirituality of it. In a progressive settings, even 2 years is too much for a parochial committee to operate. Do you know why? The church will be so progressive. You have influx of good hands, people who are spirit-filled that can go the extra mile for God. They are ready to serve. So even you shepherd will just realize you have better members who can occupy position, who are better than those who are there. So some shepherd will be even pushing down and say, well, let your 2 years go complete and let these good people come in. Because people are joining the church. So how should you pray for just a particular team to be there for 20 years? When souls are being won. Okay, look at Apostle Paul. Imagine we don't have him in Christendom. Imagine. Just imagine. Do you know how many work he did? In 1 Corinthians 15, he said, I am the least of the apostles, but I work more than all of them. Look at that. It's because he was born into the church. Imagine we miss him. I think the church will suffer for it. So, likewise, we are having members in the church that they are redundant. That is why most of our reasons are not progressive. Because good hands that are supposed to serve, we are missing them. And you see some, when you see if he's not active in the church, you go to another parish. And if you get there, you become the boss.
That's correct.
So it's one of the best legacy I said that our forefathers gave to us. And if you know how good to manage it, our church will be better off. 2 years, by the time they are 2 years complete, some positions will have been vacant. Do you know why? A family has traveled out for good. So, and you cannot afford not to have, imagine the secretary of the church has traveled out. You have to have a replacement. And there are other good hands who wants to work for God. So, in a progressive church, 2 years is too much for a private
Not
committee.
as if that if the secretary has traveled out, then we'll just bring secretary 2 to take over to the position of secretary 1.
If we put secretary 2 in the position of secretary
What will
1,
be the job of
the
secretary?
post, because now the parochial meet once in a month, or must meet once in a month. Not some that do meet quarterly. They must meet once in a month. The councillors and commissioners must also meet once in a month. In fact, theirs can be twice because they are the one working at the grassroots level. So their own meetings when I was the councillors chairman, like we meet almost every time because we have programs we do in the church every week. So we need to meet because we have to spend, we have to do things, we have to be in charge. It's for day-to-day running of the church. So they must be on ground. So if somebody relocated, another person we just take the position and the church will be progressing. 2 years is too much for a parochial committee on a normal settings. Yeah.
This is my last question.
Okay.
Except if you want to add something to what you've said so far, sir.
Okay.
In a landlord parish, is the shepherd above the parochial committee?
The shepherd is the shepherd. Don't forget, I said earlier that the shepherd has to multiply himself.
Yes.
He cannot do the work alone. So he has to multiply himself. He has to see to the election of the parochial committee. And do you know, you can only elect your likes. So if the shepherd is a thief, he will be afraid to elect because he knows his members are thief. So if you put somebody as a chairman, he will be in trouble because he will thief all the money. So that is why some shepherds are afraid, because he knows he has his likes as members. So he cannot afford to hold election. And some will want to manipulate. Hey, if this person gets there, I didn't train this one, I can't allow him to be there. So it's a big problem in our church. The shepherd is the shepherd, is the representative of the pastor and of Jesus Christ. So he has the sole responsibility, but he needs to share this responsibility among the people so that work. Some of our shepherds are dying earlier. Why? Because they loaded themselves too much with activities that does not concern them. It's a church, not a house. And a church is a combination of families. So look at how many individuals you have to work with. Where do you want to put the whole work on your family or yourself? That is why some are dying young. I pity them.
What is your last word in respect to the Parochial Committee of Celestial Church of Christ, functionality and composition?
Is that it is a legacy that our forefathers give to us. Any parish shepherd that is ignoring it, they are doing so at their detriment. And it will be difficult for them to achieve the work that God has given to Oshofa. Oshofa gave us the Constitution and he gave us all these things. So if you say Oshofa is stupid, he doesn't know what he's doing, I'm afraid it is that person or that parish that doesn't know what they are doing. And any attempt to manipulate the truth that has been given to us will put us in problem.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. My name is Ogunmefu Emmanuel Temidayo, and so far we have been discussing exclusively on Celestial Church of Christ and Parochial Committee, functionality and composition. Today I am live at Celestial Church of Christ, Eleyele Cathedral, Ibadan Northwest.
No.
Okay, Ibadan what?
Now Region 1.
Ibadan Region 1 headquarters. Am I right? Yeah. So please pardon me for that. And we've talked extensively about the theme for discussion of today. We've looked at the aspect to let you understand that parochial committee has a biblical backing for the church. We have seen it in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. So many things have been said. One of them is that the position of a parochial committee chairman is not only for the wealthy in the church. Note that. And also, just want you and know what we've talked about. Thank you and God bless you.
Nínú ìjọ Ọ̀ṣọ́fà mo ti ráyà fẹ́.
Ó ṣe mí lóore ọ̀hún lálá.
Nínú ìjọ Ọ̀ṣọ́fà mo ti rọ́kọ̀ fẹ́.
Ó ṣe